How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, to recap the series between the Yankees and the Red Sox from over the weekend. As the Yankees dropped 2 of 3 against their division rivals, they are off today. They will be taking on the Kansas City Royals tomorrow to begin a road trip. But let's kind of get into it. So, first time these two teams met all season. Very late for it, I would add as well. I mean, it's June. I mean, we didn't see these teams play all. But that also is what happens when you decrease the amount of division games and you have everybody playing everybody now across baseball. So it makes sense. But, yeah, it was kind of late for this. And the Red Sox have kind of been disappointing this year with the injuries that they've dealt with. That's, part of the reason why. You have Tristan Casas being out for the rest of the year. Alex Bregman is now hurt. He's on the IL. The pitching hasn't been great. The bullpen hasn't been great. Garrett Crochet, who we did see on Saturday, he's been very good. But the rotation hasn't really put it together outside of Crochet. And the Yankees were actually able to hit Crochet on Saturday. But, yeah, it was not a good series. It was not a good series. But I actually, now that we're into this, I forgot to mention, because I didn't do a show on Friday, the Yankees did win the final game of the series against the Guardians. So how about that? How about that? They took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians. So we'll start off with something positive that has nothing to do with this series. But because, I didn't do a show on Friday, the Yankees did win that game 4-0. Max Fried pitched very well. He's now 8-1 on the season. Cody Bellinger hit a home run in this game, had another RBI later in the game. And he also made a good defensive play in the outfield that potentially he robbed a home run. And also Jazz Chisholm had a very good series as well. And he picked up an RBI single. So the Yankees won 4-0. So that was good. That was good. So going into this series now, again, Red Sox haven't been playing well. A lot of people going into the year were high on the Red Sox with, the moves that they made in the offseason. Crochet, Bregman, they brought in Walker Buehler as well. And we saw him on Friday when I was at the game. And compared to how he was when he pitched in the World Series, it was the complete opposite. He was not good. He was not good. But before that game, so the game actually got postponed, or not postponed, but got pushed back a half hour because of the weather. And, yeah, so, there have been plenty of times where it's rained at the stadium, but I'd already be at the game. I'd be, undercover. I'd be good. I wouldn't get rained on. But that was not the case on Friday. No, my friends and I, who I went to the game with, we were not able to avoid the torrential downpour that we dealt with because we're walking up to the stadium. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. And I'm like, this is nothing. We're fine. Then it gets progressively harder and harder and harder. And we got drenched. But then it turned out to be a nice night. The weather cleared up. And like I said, the game got pushed back a half hour. And we got to see the game. Will Warren bounced back after a rough game against the Dodgers the previous week. Yankees put up a 5-spot in the first inning. They were off and running. Jazz Chisholm, 3-run homer. Anthony Volpe, a 2-run homer. It was 5-0. We were feeling great. Everything's looking good. And then all of a sudden, we get to the 6th inning, and Will Warren can't get anybody out. So they got to take him out of the game, and they bring in Hendrick. He's able to get out of the inning. Red Sox put up a 3-spot in the 6th inning. So at that point, it was 8-4 going into the bottom of the 6th inning. Then Paul Goldschmidt hits his 7th home run of the season going the opposite way. Porch job to make it 9-4. And then Rafael Devers in the top of the 7th hits a 2-run homer. And that made it 9-6. And then we're kind of sweating a little bit. In the beginning of the game, you're thinking they're up 7-0. Hey, they're not going to have to use Devin Williams. They're going to be fine. But the Red Sox, they chipped away at that lead. They weren't able to come back, but it got a little dicey at the end. But the Yankees were able to hold on. Will Warren picked up his 4th win of the season. Jazz Chisholm had 3 hits, including the 3-run homer. Aaron Judge had 3 hits in this game. Everybody got involved. Pretty much everybody in the starting lineup had a hit. The only one that didn't have a hit was Oswald Peraza, who had to come in because Anthony Volpe got hit in the elbow, and he got taken out of the game. But he ultimately is fine now. He played yesterday. So the Yankees were able to get off to a good start in this series. So then we go to Saturday. Now, I wasn't really able to watch this game because I was at a graduation party, my cousin's graduation party. And you had Ryan Yarbrough, who was coming off of his best start of the year against the Dodgers, against Garrett Crochet. You kind of figured, all right, the Yankees aren't going to sweep, but they'll probably lose, at least one of the three. And then the rubber game would be on Sunday. Now, I thought this would be a much more lower scoring game. This ended up being a 10-7 ball game. And the Yankees actually hit Garrett Crochet in this game, who's been, again, the Red Sox best starter all year. And he actually picked up the win. He gave up 5 runs. Now, he struck out 9 batters, but he gave up 5 runs. You think, you get to Garrett Crochet and he gives up 5 runs, you win that game? No. Because Ryan Yarbrough couldn't get anybody out. He pitched a clean first inning, but then he proceeded to give up runs in the next 3 innings. He gave up 1 in the top of the second, and then the Red Sox put up a 5 spot in the top of the third, and then 2 more runs in the top of the fourth. So, 4 innings, 9 hits, 8 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Not great. And his ERA went all the way up to 4.17. But the Yankees actually had the lead in this game. Because, the Red Sox, they score in the top of the second to go up 1-0. And then Austin Wells hits a 3-run homer to make it 3-1. And you're thinking, all right, here we go. Yankees should be okay now. But, again, Yarbrough couldn't get anybody out. Pablo Reyes made a couple of bad plays in the field. There was one where Peraza's throwing to him to try to get the force out at third, and he wasn't covering third base. And then there was a play. This was the bases clearing double by Trevor Story. You figured, if Jazz Chisholm is over there, he'd make that play. It goes off of Pablo Reyes' glove, and that allows every run to score. I mean, it was kind of a tough play, but I feel like if Jazz was over there, he probably makes that play. And Jazz didn't start in the game. This was a built-in off day for Jazz. They were going to sit him this game and start Pablo Reyes. Now, he did have an RBI in this game, but let's be honest, he should not be playing. He shouldn't. He should not be playing at all. So, 5 spot in the third inning, and then 2 more runs, like I said, 2-run homer by Romy Gonzalez. So that made it 8-3. However, the Yankees did chip away at the lead. Austin Wells had an RBI double in the bottom of the fourth. Pablo Reyes had the RBI ground out, like I said. And then DJ LeMahieu in the bottom of the 8th inning had a 2-run single, and that made it 8-7. And you thought, okay, all right, they got a chance here. But then they put in Ian Hamilton. He can't get anybody out. Walks a batter. Gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 10-7. Yankees end up going quietly in the 9th inning. They lose that game. Now, Aaron Boone was receiving a lot of heat because of the move with Pablo Reyes and kind of was getting killed this whole series with how he handled the bullpen. Now, I will be in favor of, well, not in favor, but I do agree with the fact that Pablo Reyes should not be starting at all. I don't think he should be playing. The Yankees like this guy coming out of spring training because he can play all over the place. Can play the outfield, can play the infield. But he's not playing it well when he does play. And you saw that on Saturday. I think what the Yankees should have did was, when you have DJ LeMahieu come back, I think they should have DFA'd Pablo Reyes and you keep Yorber Vivas up here. I think they should have did that. But they elected not to because Yorber Vivas has more options. If they were to move away from Pablo Reyes, he'd be DFA'd, and then you risk losing him. Now, you hear me say that, you're like, well, they're not risking anything because he can't really do anything right now. But that's just how the Yankees look at it. For me, that's what they should have did. They should have DFA'd Pablo Reyes. You keep Yorber Vivas up here when LeMahieu came back. Now, what are they going to do when Giancarlo Stanton comes back? Because he's going to be back soon. I think you DFA Pablo Reyes. But are they going to do that? We'll see. We'll see. But, not a good look for the Yankees on Saturday. And, they came back, or they were coming back, but they put Ian Hamilton in, and he gives up 2 runs. Ian Hamilton has not been good. He has not been good. He continues to struggle. And that reared its ugly head once again on Saturday. And then yesterday, you figure, okay, you got Rodon on the mound. He's been one of the best starters in baseball. they should get a win here. And they were off and running, the Yankees. Judge hits a 2-run homer, 98 miles an hour right down the middle, off of Hunter Dobbins, who was kind of talking a little bit before his start against the Yankees. This is what he said. If I could find the... I thought he's... Oh, yeah, here it is. So he was quoted by saying, before making his first career start against the Yankees, he said, "I said it before, if the Yankees were the last team to offer me a contract, I'd retire." So then Jazz Chisholm had a little bit of fun with that, and he said, "I think there should be more trash talk in baseball. Anyone agrees. Anyway, free smoke at 7." So that was a response to that. And Yankees responded with a 2-run homer by Judge in the first inning. And then there was no scoring until the top of the 5th when Christian Campbell hits a 2-run homer, a porch job, another one, that ties the game off of Rodon. But then LeMahieu hits his second homer of the season in the bottom of the 5th. The Yankees respond, they go up 3-2, and you're like, all right, so, we're good, right? No. Red Sox put up a 5 spot in the top of the 6th. You have a 3-run homer by Carlos Narvaez, former Yankee, who they traded for a minor league pitcher, Elmer Rodriguez, I believe. He only played in 6 games last year. And there was the one pitch that he fouled back during the at-bat against Rodon. I was like, oh, that wasn't good. I didn't like that. And, he was battling, and then he hits a home run off of Rodon. So, Rodon has been great for a while now, and the long ball hasn't really been an issue. Well, it was an issue last night. But also, the walks, too. He hits Devers to start off the 6th inning. He walks then Rob Refsnyder, and then he gives up the 3-run homer to Narvaez. And they put in Fernando Cruz. He gets the first out of the inning. He strikes out Romy Gonzalez, but then he gives up a double to Abraham Toro, who had a big game last night. Then Trevor Story singles. They get Rafaela to strike out, but then Christian Campbell's walked, and they put in Tim Hill, lefty on lefty. And actually, I was going to bring this up until it happened last night, but for the first time, a batter was able to get a hit off of Tim Hill with the bases loaded since he's become a Yankee. A 2-run single to make it 7-3, and at that point, you're like, yeah, they lost. They're not coming back. But to the Yankees' credit, they did put up a couple runs in the bottom of the 5th inning. Jazz Chisholm had a sacrifice fly, and then Trent Grisham was walked with the bases loaded. But then the Red Sox put up a couple runs in the 8th inning. You had the Abraham Toro home run, which the ball just landed. Here it is. I got it. Just landed on my front yard. That was a shot into the second deck. That was close to where, you thought that was going to go into the upper deck, which is where I was on Friday. And then you had a complete opposite home run by Trevor Story. That was another porch job. Back-to-back home runs off of Jonathan Loáisiga to make it 9-5. And then they tacked on a couple more runs. You had Devers homering to make it 10-5, his second homer of the series, and then Toro another hit to make it 11-5. Yankees did get 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Aaron Judge a 2-run homer to make it 11-7, but that was it. The Yankees could not complete the comeback. Judge again, another big night, 3 for 4, 4 RBIs, 2 homers. So now he has 23 on the season. He's not leading the league in homers. Right now it's Cal Riley. Volpe had a couple hits, but walks were a bit of an issue last night for the Yankees. 5 walks by their pitching. Red Sox, 8 home runs in the series, 5 homers last night, 1 on Saturday and then 2 on Friday. And they lose 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox. So what did we learn from this series? Well, we learned that the Yankees are incomplete right now. They are incomplete. They are dealing with a bit of an issue with their bullpen. With Luke Weaver being out, now everybody's kind of moved up an inning. So the bullpen's kind of shorthanded right now. It's exhausted too. But you have a lot of guys that are struggling. Jonathan Loáisiga has not looked good since he's come back. He was not good in the Dodgers series. He was not good in this series either. Ian Hamilton hasn't been good. Hendrick couldn't get anybody out. Fernando Cruz is allowing traffic on the bases. This series was not good. The Yankees need to address the bullpen. I think there's no question. You're going to get Luke Weaver back. Jay Cousins is on his way back. But there's definitely a need for at least one, if not one, maybe 2 arms. But definitely one. They need to get another arm in that bullpen. But I don't think, you know, they're looking to add another right-handed bat. So I think if you get a right-handed bat and you get a bullpen arm, I think you're in good shape. But the Red Sox, they showed it. They showed it against the Yankees last year. They're pesky. They're annoying, right? It doesn't matter what the record is. When they play the Yankees, they're going to give it their all, and that's what they did. They just kept fighting, especially on Friday. They were down 7-0, but the final score ended up being 9-6. They put up in this game, or in this series rather, 32 total hits, 27 runs. They abused Yankees pitching in this series. So, but I do see a lot of overreactions. This team, again, similar to the Dodgers series, this team is, fraudulent. They're not as good as their record shows. Of course, everybody keeps talking about the weak American League that they've played in, but they have played some really good teams in the National League, and they won those series. This is still a good team. And again, the Yankees hit in this series. It's not like they didn't. They put up a lot of runs in this series. It's just the Red Sox put up more. And yeah, like I said before, it wasn't a good look for Aaron Boone with, Pablo Reyes. We got to stop playing him. This guy can't play. I know Jazz, you got to give him a day off, and but you could put. Well, then again, they were a little bit shorthanded because Volpe being a little banged up, and he was really their only other option. But yeah, Pablo Reyes. The only way you should see Pablo Reyes is if they really don't have anybody, or you put him in as a pinch runner. That's it. Or if in mop up time he's thrown in to be a pitcher, like he was against the Dodgers. That's it. Pablo Reyes should not be seeing the field. I'm sorry. There's no knock on Pablo Reyes, but he should not be playing at all. He should not. Should not. I think they made a mistake by sending down Yorbit Vivas, in my opinion. So, yeah. But, with the bullpen, I mean, who are you going to put in, right? They're using up everybody. Luke Weaver's hurt. I get it. But, I don't know. That's just my opinion. The bullpen is the bullpen. I know he's mismanaged the bullpen in the past. Don't get me wrong, but they're kind of shorthanded, and guys, there's really not a lot of guys that you can rely on in this bullpen right now. The one you can rely on, I guess, is it Devin Williams, and even then, what he was doing in the beginning of the year. So yeah, that's what the Yankees are going to have to address. And there's going to be a bullpen arm out there that they're going to go out and get, I'm sure. But I think the lineup is fine. And it's only going to get better when Stanton comes back. And he might be coming back this weekend when they take on Boston again. So they just played Boston. Now they play Kansas City. And then they're going to be taking on Boston again, but this time in Fenway for a 3-game set. And Judge said after the game, they saw everybody in that bullpen for the Red Sox. So that could be good going into this series later in the week. But you saw a lot of ex-Yankees on the Red Sox. Garrett Whitlock was a guy that they lost in the Rule 5 draft. And they ended up... That was the whole thing with Whitlock and Brooks Kriske. They protected Brooks Kriske, I think, over Whitlock. Yeah, big mistake there. Narvaez we saw. Justin Wilson we saw. I liked Justin Wilson when he was with the Yankees. He was good. He was good in this series. We saw Aroldis Chapman. I thought we were going to see that. I thought there was a chance we might see him on Friday, but we saw him on Saturday and Sunday. Rob Refsnyder, who's been a solid player for them. Yeah, I think there's one more I'm forgetting. I think there's one more. So Justin Wilson, Narvaez, Chapman, Refsnyder, and there's definitely one more that I'm missing. But either way, we did see, and Whitlock. Yeah, if you want to count Whitlock. But, yeah, look, the Yankees are not fraudulent. I'm tired of seeing that. This team is not fraudulent. But I'm going to say the same thing that I said after the Dodgers series. You do not want to see this team slide after this, because that's what happened last year. When they played the Red Sox for the first time, they won the first game, and then they lost the next two. and then they just fell apart after that. But I don't think that's going to happen here. I think the Red Sox, just for some reason, they just own the Yankees. They have the Yankees number. But and I'm talking about, last couple of years. Because obviously they've had some really good teams in the past that have owned the Yankees. But, the Red Sox have not been that juggernaut that we saw back in 2018. No, they've been nowhere near that. But for some reason, when they play the Yankees, it doesn't matter if they're scuffling or not, they play well against them. And everybody talks about the managers and how Cora's a better manager than Boone. Well, Cora's got a World Series ring for a reason. But it seems like Red Sox fans have had enough of Cora, the way this team has been going. But look, it is what it is. The other thing too is I wanted to talk about the rivalry in general. So Hunter Dobbins had that quote that he said before his start against the Yankees. I mean, I know it's like, I guess, trying to infuse some bad blood in this rivalry again. I'm sorry, the rivalry, respectfully, is dead. It doesn't have that same flair to it. Now, I think, when you see the crowds, there were 3 sellouts this weekend, I believe. And I anticipate it's going to be the same thing with Fenway Park over the weekend. But, and I think the fans are still into it. You want to beat the Red Sox, and if you're the Red Sox, you want to beat the Yankees. But this is not what it used to be. I think there was a little bit of a blip in 2018 when you had the Tyler Austin, Joe Kelly situation. But other than that, I mean, this rivalry has just been nothing at all. Nothing. I think 2018 was really the last year where obviously the Red Sox won, but the Yankees also won 100 games that year. I think that was probably the last year where both teams were really good. Again, 2018 Red Sox were, up here. Yankees were below them. But still, again, both teams won 100 games. Since then, they played in the wild card game in 2021, but both teams weren't expected to go anywhere. Red Sox did make it to the championship series, give them credit. But 2022, Yankees were in the championship series. 2023, both teams didn't do anything. They were both, fighting for last place. That's what they were fighting for in 2023. And then the Yankees made it to the World Series last year. So they haven't really lined up in recent years. So, yeah, but you know what? The Red Sox got some good young players over there that they're, developing. But it's been a rough year for them. Now, is this series going to lead to more success for them? Who knows? They're dealing with injuries right now. I don't know what the timeline is for Bregman to come back. But look, they were able to figure it out against the Yankees. Of course they were, because that's just how it goes. But I think for people that, again, are overreacting, let's calm down. Now back to the Yankees side. All right? Team is still in first place. They still got a comfortable lead. They're going to be fine. But right now the bullpen is a problem because there's guys that just can't get anybody out at the moment. And now that, if Boone puts in someone that doesn't get the job done, then he gets blamed for it. Well, he doesn't really have a lot of reliable arms out there at the moment. And I was hoping that Rodon was going to get the Yankees back on track after Saturday's loss because, he's been one of those stoppers along with Max Fried. And that didn't happen. And he's allowed to have this one bad start because he's been great for so long. He's not going to be great the entire year. He's going to have bad starts here or there. But he was cruising. Through the game, and then he just lost it. And a couple of long balls later, that was it. So, he's going to have to get back on track, and I'm sure he will. And, the Yankees will figure it out. They'll figure it out. This division is theirs to lose right now. So anybody saying they're frauds, they're not frauds. This is a good team. And I still believe this team is at least going to make it to the championship series. And then we'll see what happens. But it's not a guarantee that they're going to get back to the World Series. No. No. But the overreactions on Twitter, especially, I'm just like, really? It's amazing how even one loss, leads to so many overreactions. We said this last week. They're not going to win every game. They're not going to win every game. So, and the other thing that's really annoying me too is I'm seeing all these Aaron Judge stat padding tweets and comments. Are you kidding me? What do you expect him to do? Just stop playing? Even the 2-run homer to make it 11-7. That's stat padding. And he's got to do it in the postseason. We got to get to the postseason first. And if he has another lackluster postseason, you could say whatever you want. But he's the last guy. And even then, shouldn't be saying anything about what he does during the year. Because he's the biggest reason why the Yankees are relevant right now. Without him, where would the Yankees be? Not in first place. So, enough of that. But that'll continue. Like I said, though, when we get to the postseason and he doesn't hit again, you can say whatever you want. But right now, he's having a great year. Stat patter. So let's look at the stat patter, Aaron Judge, shall we? So these are his current stats at the moment. So in 240 at-bats this season, and he's played in all 64 games, 240 at-bats. He's batting .396, 23 homers, 55 RBIs, and a 1264 OPS. So he's a stat patter. Okay. All right. Because I guarantee you, if you're not a Yankee fan, you'd want this stat patter on your team. You would. And if you're a Yankee fan saying he's a stat patter, you don't deserve him. You don't. You don't deserve him. We are fortunate that we get to watch this guy every single day. What we are watching is potentially what many people around baseball are saying is the greatest right-handed hitter of all time. We have that guy on this team. But yeah, let's just continue to knock him down because he's not good in the postseason, because he dropped the ball out in center field in the World Series. Let's continue to do that. Let's just keep focusing on the bad. Because you know what? When it's all said and done, I don't know if he's going to get a World Series ring, but I know he's going to have a very good postseason at some point. Whether it's this year or at some point during this part of his career. He's going to have a good postseason. It took A-Rod a long time, but he had it. Judge is going to have one. He's going to have one, and then he's going to shut everybody up. And I can't wait for that. I can't wait. Because you know what? I know we were all disappointed in him with what happened last year in the World Series. But that doesn't mean you turn your back on him. Because he very easily could have turned his back on the Yankees and went somewhere else and signed somewhere else. And then who would the Yankees have had? But he didn't. He stayed. He wanted to be a Yankee. Because the same people that were begging for, Judge to come back, or the same people that, were, they're talking about Judge like this. I mean, you had somebody that walked out on you after 1 year for the largest contract in sports history. And you say that's not being loyal after 1 year. This guy took less money to stay here. And he was with the organization for years. That's loyalty. I'm not going into that other conversation. But he wanted to be a Yankee. He's a Yankee. So appreciate him. Stop knocking down Aaron Judge, please. Again, if it's the playoffs, all right. But for now, appreciate greatness. Because was it stat padding when he hit the 2-run homer in the first inning off of Dobbins, who did settle in and pitch well, so he backed it up. Once again, another thing the Yankees don't have the last laugh with. I mean, you expect the guy to just not play? Like, I don't get it. Whatever. Actually, yeah, speaking of, so the Hunter Dobbins thing, another thing the Yankees just do not have the last laugh in. There's been plenty of instances where, things happen and the Yankees just don't get the last laugh. They never get the last laugh. With the Red Sox, you had the boombox back in 2018, and actually, I hate to knock Judge after just defending him, but Judge, was playing New York as they were leaving Fenway, going back to Yankee Stadium in the 2018 ALDS when when the series was tied at 1 game apiece. Red Sox won that in 4 games. You had Luke Voigt saying we're going to win tomorrow against the Rays in the division series during 2020. They didn't win. 2021, there was the whole incident with the Mets when they thought Wandy Peralta was whistling, and Lindor hit 3 home runs off of them. And you had the benches clear it when Stanton hit the home run to tie the game, and him and Lindor were going back and forth. The Yankees are usually not on, and even with the Astros, everything with the Astros. Astros were, last year they swept them in the beginning of the year, but the Astros have owned the Yankees too for years. The FL Tuve chance. Yankees don't get the last laugh. Actually, I will say, one of the few instances they did was the Josh Naylor rock the baby incident with Garrett Cole. We had the last laugh there, but for the most part, the Yankees are always on the losing end of all of those things, which continues to annoy me. But that's just how it is. This was another example of that. Guy says, I'm not going to sign with the Yankees if they were the last team to offer me a contract. Yankees lose the game. That's what happens. So, yeah. Not a good weekend for the Bronx Bombers. I'm not going to overreact because it's the Red Sox. The Red Sox, for whatever reason, just own the Yankees. And the Yankees got some things they need to address at the trade deadline. They need help in the bullpen. And I think they still need to try to add another bat. DJ LeMahieu had a good series, but I feel like at some point he's going to get hurt again. So I don't trust him to stay healthy. I hope he does, because he hit the home run last night to put them ahead. He had the 2-run single on Saturday. Actually, both homers that he's had this year have come in losses. So, DJ, stop homering. No, don't. But, yeah, he had a good series. Jazz had a good series. He was mic'd up last night during the game, and, he had that 360 throw to first base that ended up being an error. But he had a good series. It's good to see him getting it going. He has raised his batting average a ton since he's come back. Judge had a good series. Goldschmidt's kind of slowed down a little bit. He's still hitting over 300, but I expect it seems like he's going to come back down to below 300 at some point. Austin Wells has kind of started to pick it up a little bit. I've noticed that, so that's good. But yeah, right now, pitching's kind of an issue. It'd be one thing if you had everything not working. They can't hit, they can't pitch, but right now they can't pitch. So, the offense is still putting up runs. They'll figure it out, guys. They're going to make the postseason. They'll figure it out. This happens every year. We don't like when it happens, but it's going to happen. Just don't let it snowball to that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else. So, they take on the Royals tomorrow, off day tonight. Comes at a good time, to sit back and reflect and get it going in Kansas City. They swept the Royals earlier this year. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but just take the series. So, I'll actually see the pitching matchups if they announce them. So, for tomorrow, it's Max Fried on the mound against Noah Cameron. In 5 games, he's 2-1 with a .85 ERA, a lefty. Yankees saw a lot of left-handed pitching over the weekend. So I think Max Fried will pitch well, get the Yankees back on track. Then you got Clark Schmidt on Tuesday against Chris Bubich, who's been pretty good this year. He's 5-3 with a 1.43 ERA. And then you got Will Warren against Seth Lugo, who's given the Yankees problems in the past. So, yeah, this is going to be a tough series. It's going to be a tough series, but I think the Yankees will take 2 out of 3. I'll be confident. I definitely was confident after Saturday. I said, all right, we lost the middle game. They weren't expected to win that, although, again, didn't go the way I thought it was going to, with it being 10-7 the final score. But I thought with Rodon on the mound last night they were going to get the win. But that didn't happen. So I turned the page, take the series tomorrow, take the series the next 3 days, and then you take on the Red Sox again and hopefully get revenge on them. But that's pretty much it. So as always, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off. Have a good one. We'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.